about the different video and just actually learning about the different things that you may or may not have known. I don't know if some of you know that he actually was able to go over to the Ghanaian independence ceremony where Ghana was becoming independent in 1957. He was there, and being a part of that, a lot of the leaders over in Africa wanted to meet him to speak with him and the other civil rights leaders so they could learn about what we were doing here so they could take it and use it over in the motherland. From that trip, he got to, after he left Ghana, he got to go to Nigeria, Rome, Switzerland, Geneva. He went all over spreading his message of nonviolence and talking about the things that we were doing here in the civil rights. So basically, why do you think Dr. King is an icon? Why are we remembering him? Why are we talking about him? Does anybody have anything? Like even what he was saying, the different things that we have today, we didn't have back then. So those are the reasons why we honor him. We want to remember him. We want to remember those people that were with him, marching with him, walking with him. All of those leaders, even if they weren't prominent, every person played a role. Everybody that was there, everybody that participated, everybody that marched, sang, whatever they did, they were participants. So that's pretty much what we have there. So we're going to be talking about the nonviolent movement of Dr. King. Dr. King basically at the King Center, they have all of his philosophies listed there. And you can go into 3 evils. The first one is going to be poverty. The next one is going to be racism, and then the last one is going to be militarism. Poverty, we all know what poverty is. It's basically unemployment, homelessness, hunger, all of the different issues that we face for not having the economic status that we need to get the things that we need, or want for that matter. Racism, prejudice, apartheid, anti-Semitism, homophobia, discrimination against disabled or the elderly. All of that is under that one. Then you have militarism. That's where you start talking about war, domestic violence, human trafficking. Those are the different things that Dr. King has put in this umbrella of the triple evils of different things that we need to do or take action upon when we're talking about nonviolence. So, 6 principles of nonviolence. First one, nonviolence is a way of life for courageous people. Nonviolence seeks to win friendship and understanding. Nonviolence seeks to defeat injustice, not people. Nonviolence hopes that suffering can educate and transform. Nonviolence chooses love instead of hate. And nonviolence believes that the universe is on the side of justice. These are the principles of which Dr. King has founded his philosophy on. He got, when he was away studying, he began to learn about Gandhi when he was at seminary school. And this is kind of what helped him to form his belief system because of what he saw Gandhi doing over in India. He then began to think, if they can do that over in India, we can take some of those same concepts, bring it over here to the U.S. and try to get some movement going into basically giving us the rights that we deserve. And if you look at the philosophy, Dr. King was definitely not a person that believed in, it's necessarily whites against blacks or old against young. He wanted everybody to be involved. He called it the beloved community. So basically that everyone would be free to live the way that they needed to live, have the things that they needed to have, whether it be shelter, food, anything that you need to feel safe, to feel normal, to feel loved. That's what basically he had here for the principles. And I'm going really fast because I know you guys weren't even expecting me. I was supposed to be someplace else. So forgive me if you have any questions, comments, anything of that nature. Please, go right ahead because I was supposed to be showing videos. We're not even doing that, okay? So, basically, just as the gentleman was saying, this is Dr. King. This is the photo of the members of the Mississippi Highway Patrol confronting Dr. King and other civil rights activists, which was taken on June 8, 1966. On June 5th, a law student named James Merritt, best known for having been the first black student to attend the University of Mississippi, launched a solo 220-mile march from Memphis, Tennessee to Jackson, Mississippi. He undertook what he called the March Against Fear to encourage African Americans to register to vote. On the second day of the march, however, he was shot 3 times by a white supremacist sniper and was unable to continue. Dr. King and leaders of the other majority civil rights organizations vowed to finish the march and asked others to join in. Nearly 3 weeks later, thousands of people, including James Merrill, rallied in Jackson City, the civil rights demonstration, the largest civil rights demonstration ever in that state. So this is the picture of Dr. King. What do you see, if you can see? Let's see if I can blow this up for you.
You can pick it up and carry it around.
I can actually, yes, I can do that. What do you see in this photo? Aggression. By who? And what is Dr. King doing?
Standing there and passive and quiet.
He's not doing anything, right? Why?
Because he's peace. About peace.
He's about peace.
You lead by example.
He's leading by example. Very good. That is exactly what's going on here. Basically, Dr. King is being the example that he wanted to see, right? Another godly principle. You have to be the change that you want to see in the world. And this is him standing his ground. He's not going to fight. He's not going to yell. He's not going to push on them. He's not going to do anything because he knows that in the world's eyes, they are the authority. They are the oppressors, right? So he's just going to stand there and let the world see, right? Dr. King continued to do this not only here, but in all of his other marches. It got so big, it started being televised.
Yeah.
That's when you had the president get involved. He didn't care before, but once it started going all over the world, to the different parts of the world, and people started talking, and it became an issue, that's only when they started getting the Civil Rights Act passed, the right to vote. All of that would not have happened if he didn't choose to do this, right? So, I have a poem here by called Carl Sandburg, and the poem is called Choose. And it states, the single clenched fist lifted and ready, or the open hand held out and waiting. Choose. For we meet by one or the other. Does anyone have thoughts about this poem that we have just, if you want me to read it again, I can. The single clenched fist lifted and ready, or the open hand open hand held out and waiting. Choose, for we will meet by one or the other. Does anyone have anything to say about that poem? What do you think it's saying?
Peace and violence.
It is. It's exactly what it's talking about. And it's telling you that you have a choice on how you're going to do it. Are you going to be the one that's fighting with your fist? Or are you going to be the one with your hand held out, not necessarily asking for something, but to say, hey, I'm coming in peace, trying to get understanding, how can we work together? What are the different things that we can do to get through this particular issue, right? So, again, I had presentations here, but without the Wi-Fi, it is not going to work. But basically, I had a presentation. If you have access to the internet, you can go ahead and find it yourself. It's actually a video of the rapper Common, and he has a video called I Have a Dream, and we're going to do a comparison based upon his video versus the actual speech of Dr. King. I have both of those, but again, I need Wi-Fi in order for those to play, so I do apologize for that. But basically, the difference is not much difference. That was then with Dr. King. Common is today. Common is not even really today because Common is my era. And if you want to talk about today with the millennials, you have to start talking about, I guess the most person that they think might have some sense about politics is Cardi B, because she made her little comment on Instagram, if you all even know what I'm talking about. But basically in the rapper's video, he demonstrates and shows different things. Yes, sorry.
It goes way back before that. It goes all the way back from our beginning. Songs. All the songs that say in like Prince, like 1990.
Oh yeah, most
It goes all the way back.
Going on.
All the way back.
Oh yeah, most
Muddy Waters, all that.
Oh yes, yes. And I actually chose. I had pictures on here with music because it was talking about unity. But like I said, I do different presentations. It's basically the same thing, but I try to do different things in different places. places, and yes, I do talk about music being a unifying thing, and yes, how it started way back then. I mean, even in Detroit here, we had Aretha Franklin doing all of the different things that she did. So it's just a matter of the video of Common actually demonstrating, you know, some of the things that you saw from the civil rights movement. It was just a reminder that those things haven't changed. Those things are still here, still present. And so that's where we are now. We're talking about civil rights then. So we have what we're talking about, it takes a village. You had the March on Washington, you had Selma, you had the I Am a Man in Memphis, which is actually where Dr. King ended up being assassinated. But we have the Birmingham boycott, and I brought this photo because I thought we were going to have a mixed crowd, but most of you all know Rosa Parks, Miss Detroit herself, as far as the, but I also wanted to bring like Claudette Colvin because I wanted to highlight, if there were going to be younger people here, the idea that it doesn't matter what age you are, that you can participate.
Right.
She was actually only 15 years old when the bus boycott began. She's actually the first person to actually refuse her seat. It wasn't Rosa Parks who was the first person. Rosa Parks was an adult that was able to not miss school to be the spokesperson or the front person for the movement. Okay, so that's why I brought this up, so that you could see that you know, you can be any age to take part in a movement, right? But then I also wanted to know down here that the bus boycott had guidelines. This here, again, I would have had a larger, but we're just gonna have to work with it, guys. But this basically is the actual bus boycott guidelines from back then, right? This is a whole list of things that they had. Basically, the community, the leaders, they got together and they said, hey, this is our purpose, this is what we're going to do, but if you're going to do it, we have some guidelines that you're going to have to abide by, right? They were basically telling them, hey, if somebody starts cursing at you, don't say anything back. I mean, this is basically stuff that today most people be like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm gonna defend myself, I'm gonna say something, but it was about what the purpose was, what the end was, or whatever. You cannot, in any type of protest, march, or basically go outside of the guidelines, because then you start defeating the purpose. If one person starts acting out, or, I mean, you've seen it on some of the more recent marches where people are supposed to be having peaceful marches and someone's over here fighting and throwing things of that nature, that takes away from what the real purpose is, which is why Martin Luther King had his nonviolence movement. In the photo that you saw, he basically stood there. He was the example, because they knew then it was important to be unified, as the man was speaking about earlier, to make sure that you can get to your end goal.
You know, I will add on to that too, because I was in the movement when we were college students. We had to for the boycott of the lunch counter. We had to have classes to know exactly what it was we were supposed to do when we were at the counter, how we were to react. And yes, kids today would have turned around and slapped the folks or whatever, and we never would have gotten anywhere. But we're here now because we were.
Oh yeah, and I, again, like I said, in different presentations, sometimes I have photos, sometimes I have books, but I have actual Dr. Martin King books where they have those pictures of the college students, and that's, again, it doesn't matter what age you are, of college students sitting at the counter and them dumping the food and throwing the food and slurring, saying racial slurs and cursing and different things of that nature. She was there. I actually, because I went to school across from Morehouse at Selma College, I was able to work with Dr. David Thatcher, former U.S. Surgeon General of the United States at Morehouse School of Medicine, and he too talked to me when I was working underneath him about all the different sittings that he participated in. So people took time and took it serious. It was something that you had to be unified. You weren't going to be an outlier doing your own thing because you would distract from what the goal was. So that's where we get to where we are today. Today we have things of Black Lives Matter, Me Too, Time's Up. Those are new, But these things have never changed. I mean, Black Lives Matter ain't really new, it's just a new name. It's the same thing, just a different name. But you got equal pay, equal housing, and human trafficking.
Right.
All of these things have not changed. They might look different, it might be all flowery and pretty on the outside, but on the inside, at the core of that thing, it's really still the same issues, right? We had civil rights movement and everybody's like, oh my gosh, we are so free, we can vote, we can do this, we can do that. But like the gentleman said, that's all talk. Are you voting? Are you taking action? Are you doing things to help your community? What are you doing? What is your role? Are you committing crimes? Because if you commit a crime, that's not nonviolent. I mean, even if you're stealing something because you think, oh, I need to get something to eat. They have pantries. They have food pantries. When you steal something from someone, that one thing that you stole from them is going to probably cost 4 times as much to replace. People, I don't know about here, but in Chicago, they were all up in arms because they were going to close a Target in a black community. Why are they closing the Target?
They was gonna close it everywhere. It comes from corporate all the way down. I'm in the racket.
It comes from corporate all the way down, but it's called loss management.
Right.
It's called loss management.
And they have insurance on their money.
They have insurance, but insurance costs. If everybody here has you have insurance. Everybody here, maybe not, but if you have a car, if you have a house, if you got any type of healthcare plan, it costs. That money is not growing on trees.
Right.
If you have an insurance policy and you take out a claim, you go, oh, okay, I just paid my deductible, $250. But then they're going to start tacking on to your premiums.
Yes.
Every month, so it costs. Yes, they have insurance, but if 20 people go in and steal a computer or a TV or whatever, they now have to pay for the computer, they have to pay the people that they have to watch the security cameras, they got to pay the people that work there, and they got to start paying that insurance back. It's a trickle-down effect. So just because in the Bible they talk about, your one sin can cause so many other people hurt.
Right.
And that's what I'm talking about. Where are you? What are you doing? What are your actions? You may not necessarily be not protesting, you may be voting, but what are the little things that you can change about you that might be causing harm to your community? Crime is just one example, or stealing is just one example. We could go on and on. We could talk about the black-on-black crime as far as shootings and different things of that nature, but it all plays into this. What is your role? What are you doing? What are you trying to do and accomplish? So, we were talking about voting, we're talking about different things. A lot of these issues that we're talking about, you cannot get to them just by your day in and day out conversation. Here at the Women's Council, we talk about ownership. Even if it's not home ownership, if you just get a piece of land, if you get a rental property, you will have a say because then you are paying taxes. In that community, you can then vote, right? Voting is where we can make things happen. Voting is where we can get all the different policies changed. You have to put those people in place for the things that you want. And you have to take the time to educate yourself on those people. Right. Do not just vote somebody in just because they look like you. Do not vote somebody in just because they sound like you. Do not vote somebody in just because you know their name. Research these people. Learn who they are. Learn what they are about. Are they about helping their community? Are they about nonviolence? Are they someone who is adhering to what our goal is as a community? Yeah. I mean, because there's some big names out there that I don't really care for myself, but I don't want to get into that because I'm not a representation of this organization. I'm a representation of me, so I don't want to say anything to get people offended because there are some leaders that I just am not, I don't vibe with them too well about how they get down in our community, right? But again, my point is, do what works best for you. Know what your standards are, your expectations, and then vote that way. Again, don't vote by name, don't vote by color, vote for people that are for us, right?
And once you vote, hold them accountable.
Hold them accountable.
So a lot of times we're voting to leave it alone, but we have to stay on them and make sure they do what they said they were going to do.
Exactly. And so this page here was basically what I had presented. So again, that people can see that, just like the man was saying, the torch is being passed, right? The younger people are trying to get involved, but you have to support them. I'm originally from Chicago, so this gentleman over here that you see with not Dr. King, but with Barack Obama, President Barack Obama, is a young man by the name of Brian Sleep. He is my classmate from my high school in Chicago. He's what I consider a local candidate, someone who was working within the municipalities, the local government to try to better his community. The slogan, he just passed away last year, but the slogan that they had for him is "Sleep is Chicago," because he never left. He went away to school, but he came back because he was fighting for his people, fighting for his community, right? You all have Joel Jones. You may not agree with some of his beliefs, but again, this is someone that is trying to work for the community, immediately in the community. This is your local. This is an example of someone who is for the state. This young lady, Stacey Abrams, went to my own college. She went to Spelman College. I don't know if you guys have heard of her, but she was trying to become the first black female governor of Georgia. But she didn't make it.
Now they play games.
And people ain't voting. You have to vote. And every chance you get, you have to vote. Don't wait to presidential. You have to be at all the general elections, all the primaries. You have to be at every one of them. And then we have another example of a gentleman. He too went to the House College. His name is Sean King. He's not necessarily running for office, but I brought him up because a lot of the young people are into the internet. They like to do all the different blogging and the Instagram, all of the type of stuff. And he's a young man who makes sure that he makes his footprint in social media. So he's in social media bringing up all of the different issues. He's a part of the Black Lives Matter. He does all those different things to make sure that he is keeping us aware and abreast of different situations that we need to keep our eyes on the prize. Right? So that's what we get to. As we said before, what are you going to do? What are you going to be doing? What steps will you be taking? Right? So, Dr. King told one of his quotes are, "You are as good as anyone." Right? So just like Ms. Daniels was saying, you get those people in office, but then you got to hold them accountable. So just because you get them in office doesn't mean, okay, I put them in office, I don't have to do anything. You need to be president meetings, you need to be president protests, different things of that nature. But if you're going to do these things, Dr. King wants to make sure that you know how to do these things. So he
because it's lack of communication. Now I love Martin Luther King, and I'm open ears because it's good information. But it's a purpose for whatever you say or whatever you do. What is the purpose of you discussing Martin Luther King? To bring peace. Because it's a lot of non-peace. That's the purpose of you talking about Martin Luther King, right? So that's why I don't mind listening to it, but that's what it is. We need to just get down to what while we here, and I ain't trying to take over the segment, but I got a point for all of us. Because see, I'm a team player. I ain't about division, I'm about unity. And I see a lot of division going down. And I don't want no parts of it. And I know I can probably do that set because I'm a follower. I'm not trying to be no leader. I just want to learn. I just want to love my people. It bothers me when I see so much confusion, especially among my leaders. It bothers me, and I want to be a part of it. But I'm scared because it's too much controversy.
Carter,
and where should
you want to
be
take
unity
address it?
division.
Can I hear this? Okay.
Because they
Let me say one thing. We were supposed to be at the 2999 High, okay? And for whatever reason, we ended up being here. So I'm of the belief that things happen for a reason. We had no idea that you guys, we had no idea that this was happening. So just hearing what you're saying, it actually comes into play with what you guys are doing. I didn't know anything about that. So it's actually really coming into, it's like working because you just said, I'm tired. I want to be about peace.
Yeah.
I want to be about coming together.
Yeah.
I'm tired of fighting.
I ain't finna
You know, and this is what this is really about.
Yeah.
You know, it was about a different thing, but it's the same thing. But it's about what we're about. So, to me, I think that it worked out. It worked out. Because for whatever reason, we were supposed to be right here at Twin Towers instead of 2999. Right?
Amen.
And we have to believe that. We have to know that. Especially if you say that, right? You have to know that this was brought to you.
It's good.
This was brought to us. Because at the end of the day, it's the same message. The same message.
Message, yes.
Well, all I gotta say is, I'm sorry that you feel like I'm bothering you, but
No, we don't feel
Oh, no, she didn't say that. We didn't say
Not
that.
saying that.
She
Don't
just said-
misunderstand.
They came here for,
Don't
they had a thing here for him.
We thought it was about something else. Okay? So, don't be sorry for the misunderstanding. Okay? And I apologize if I hurt your feelings, but it was meant to. Well, I'm just warming enough that way.
Exactly.
I'm just warming enough to say, in case I did, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. Because we got to understand it was about something else.
Right, it still is, let me
So, he can just come right
Yes.
into it.
I understand that you guys want to talk about building this resident community, I do understand that. I understand that has something to do with the living conditions. We're gonna get into that, we're gonna open that up today. But I figure that this kind of breaks the monotony a little bit.
It does.
You know, so just listen, they'll be out pretty soon, and we can get to what we want to talk about, okay?
But
She only
basically,
needs about 5 more minutes.
but basically my point is that what I'm talking about right now is what we need to experience. And these things are not just about big things, it's about your everyday, your day in, day out. Just what we're talking about right now. So yes, I'm talking about Dr. King, and yes, people in this room know about Dr. King, but my point is, we're talking about nonviolence. We're talking about being along with one another, communicating, getting issues handled, and how do you do that? How do you speak to people? How do you get that? And just like I said, gather the information, get educated, tell everybody else, make a personal commitment that you are going to be active and take direct action and things that are attacking before you. So if you feel slighted or upset about anything of that nature, you're trying to get to a goal, whether it be your committee, whatever, these are the different things that we suggest that you put in place. So we're talking about direct action and in the end, reconciliation. Basically, after you get done with all of that type of stuff, how do you then go and say, I'm sorry, thank you, you know, we apologize for whatever. So this is Dr. King. So all I'm saying is, walk with me. Take a pledge to take what we've talked about today into your everyday life, your everyday dealings, whether it be at home, with your family, with your kids, with your grandkids, because they need to see it. You have to be the example. So you practice nonviolence, communication, conversation with them at home, so that when they go out on the street, they come against police officers, other people with authority, different things of that nature. We're trying to take it to a level where everybody basically is back, not into the 60s, so to speak, but in that mindset of being a unit, being a community, and working together in a nonviolent way to get things done, i.e. your committee that you're trying to have. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.